So imagine this is my big toe. It's separated like this, so they had to put a screw to push it back in like that, and then another screw to put the tendon in. I've done a lot of interviews. They'll have you look at some weird places. Trust me.
Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Bill, I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us. They wanna knock me down, but somehow I just stay up. Look, straight from the mud like Ruby. Straight to the stage.
Please state your name, age, and location.
Stevie Brown, 33, Houston, Pearland, Texas.
So what was it that got you into health and fitness?
Sports. I grew up playing sports, and as I got older, I started to realize the importance of health and needing to have that in my life to be at the top of my game. So with each level that I went up, I started paying attention a little bit more and more about how I trained my body, what I put into my body, everything like that, just to kind of coincide so I could be at the best of my game whenever I was playing, to play at the top of my ability so I could be the best.
For people that don't know, when you talk about your game, what do you mean?
So I was a football player professionally. I played 6 years. So I played college at the University of Michigan, go blue all day. And then I was drafted to the Oakland Raiders, 7th round pick. Spent a year and a half out there. And then I finished out that next season with the Indianapolis, or the second half of that season, I should say, with the Indianapolis Colts. And I spent my next 4 years in New York with the Giants.
What was your position?
Safety.
How have health and fitness impacted your life?
Greatly. You know, like I was saying, it's basically been my whole life. I started playing football whenever I was 9 years old, and then I played all the way to 29. So from 9 to 29, I had to be in the best shape of my life to be able to compete at the highest level. So that was for 20 years. And like I said, I'm only 33. So just 4 years later, now it's just me owning my body, me taking control of what I can take control of, and still liking to compete. Not so much on the football field, but just like with myself personally, or just with like friends of mine, former teammates of mine, things like that. We like to throw challenges at each other. We like to compete with each other, and it's just, this is what I do. So everything that's health, fitness, whether it's running, lifting, jumping, it's a competition, and I gotta be the best. So you gotta have health to do that.
What was your biggest challenge while playing football?
Honestly, I remember probably it was my sophomore year. Whenever I grew up, being in high school, I was a high school All-American. Football was natural for me, and I was always the best person on the field. And then I got to college, and I kind of understood my freshman year, even though I didn't redshirt, I was still able to play a little bit and everything like that. But the two guys that were in front of me both ended up getting drafted into the NFL that year. They were seniors, so it was one of those situations where I understood I was not going to really be the starter that year. But then going into that sophomore year, it was, all right, expectations are you're going to be the starter. I started off being the starter, and then I just didn't play well in the very first game. If anybody knows the game where Appalachian State came up to the big house and beat us, yeah, I was part of that game. I was in that game, and I ended up getting benched after that. And so that was the first time I ever experienced negatives on the football field. And I remember going into Coach Carr's office. I was like, "Yeah, this is unfair. I'm about to leave." Everything like this. It's the first time I ever faced adversity. So then, I had to regroup and then start thinking about things and actually look at myself and look at how I played and go back to it. And then once I was able to realize to admit to my own mistakes and that I didn't play well, then I was able to grow as a player. And then, from there it kind of took off and I got my spot back, started the next 2 years, ended up getting drafted, and just it gave me the fuel to stay hungry at all times. And so I think that was probably the biggest adversity challenge that I faced in football, but it was probably the best experience to have. It was a good time.
You miss it?
You miss certain aspects of it. The locker room, game day is fun, but that grind of practice and training camp, and over my last 4 seasons, I had 3 major surgeries. I do not miss the rehab. I do not miss that part of it. But the locker room, my boys, things like that, I do miss.
What kind of injuries did you have?
Torn ACL, Liz Frank fracture, and a inguinal hernia surgery.
What's something you wish people knew about you?
If you don't really spend a lot of time with me, everybody thinks I'm very serious, I'm very regimented and everything like that. I mean, it comes because my dad was military. I played for Coach Carr, who doesn't play. Played for Tom Coughlin. I always grew up with a rule, a schedule, things like that. And I have adapted that into my normal life where I'm very regimented on my time and things like that, but I'm far from serious. Like, when I get things done, I get things done. But the rest of my time, carefree. I'm usually laughing, joking. Everybody thinks I'm very super regimented on my diet all the time. I'm like, no, it's far from the truth. Yeah, I guess that would probably be the thing that people don't know about me, that I'm really not as serious as I come across.
What motivates you to keep going to the gym on days when you don't necessarily feel like going?
Just that competition factor that I said. I was always taught that if you're never staying the same, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. So by me, on a day that if I don't feel like working out or something like that, I know I'm letting myself down because I'm getting worse. I'm taking a step back. There's somebody out there who could probably be getting better at something than I am. Somebody could be stronger, to be getting faster. So that's what really kind of fuels me and motivates me to stay in the gym. So I'm staying at the top of my game. Once you get into that relaxed habit and you start to fall off and you start to make excuses for not being able to do it today, it makes it easier the next day to say you're not going to be able to do it. And the next thing you know, it's like 2-3 weeks have gone by and you're like, man, what happened? So for me, I just try to stay ahead of the curve and just continuously stay in there because I don't want to lose it.
What's something you wish someone told you in the beginning of your fitness journey?
I guess one of the things, actually this will probably be one of the bigger things, you don't have to lift heavy weight all the time. As a high school kid, that's all you think about doing. You get in the weight room, you're competing with your friends, and you see somebody else do 300 on the bench, you're like, I can do 315. You're like, oh, you did 400 on the squat, I can do 450. Things like that. It's like, you don't necessarily have to lift all that heavy weight. And honestly, just until the past probably about a year and a half, I've actually come to accept those terms. I'd rather just lift volume instead of heavy weights. Now, if you look at me, you're gonna think I'm lifting heavy weights, but I always say heavy weight is relative. As long as I can if I can get good reps, I can get quality reps, that's more for me as opposed to heavy weights, because I still want to be able to move and not have injuries.
What advice would you give to somebody who's contemplating starting their own fitness journey?
Honestly, I just always tell people, before you start anything, you got to make sure it's something that you actually want to do. Because if you ever go into something like haphazardly, you're never going to put your full into it, so you'll never get the full results out of it. If it's just, man, I see all these other people doing it, I think I can do it. But if you don't love it, you're not going to stick to it. So always make sure you love what you do before you get into it.
So do you have any plans for the future moving forward?
Definitely. I love training, and I love helping people on all spectrums, whether it's personal training, a 64-year-old, or working with high school kids. So eventually I would like to have my own facility. Right now I'm starting to do some things out of the garage in my house and get some training done that way, working in parks with kids and things like that. But eventually one day I'm gonna have everything underneath one roof. I want to be able to have the training aspect where people can come in and get some one-on-one work. I also want to have a facility where I actually have a football field and high school kids, college kids, former pros or current pros all come back and put them through programs I love being able to work with them a lot. It is very fun for me to be out in the parks with some of my high school kids and putting them through drills. It just kind of brings back that fire that I had whenever I was playing, and to be able to help them accomplish their goals and what they're setting out to do. So eventually when I get all that stuff under wraps, and then I'll probably add a little cafe in there to dabble in my food side as well. So it'd just be a one-stop shop for me.
All right, Stevie, for this next question, can you look into the camera and leave a note for your future self?
Stevie, in the future, are you still at the top of your game? Are you still doing it? You know, that's the goal. Can you still look out there and go, I'm competing with everybody? Just make sure you're still doing that. So a quote that I actually do like to live by is something I even did when I was playing, is just why not me? That's the one thing that we do in today's society. Everybody likes to compare. They always like to look at this, they like to look at that. And you know, that was one of those things that I used to do when I looked at anybody or compared to, but like whenever I was playing, like I said, I was the 7th round pick, 251st out of 254. You know, but at the same time, I was just like, I can play this league. It's like, why not? You know what I mean? So that was always kind of the mentality, the approach that I took. Why can't I become a starter? I did. Why can't I go to the Pro Bowl? I did. You know, it's things like that. Like, I never would let doubt come in. I always just kept asking myself, reminding myself, why not you?